What's up guys, it's Sean here, back in F1 22 My Team career, where we're just about to head to Australia for the Australian Grand Prix. If you didn't watch the last episode in Jeddah, be sure to check that out. It was a great race, plenty of action, especially near the end of the race for us. A lot of battles through the entire race as well. We're just getting some activities doing in the background, getting a bit of team acclaim, some resources, a bit more cash. As you can see, the car's still not great compared to the other cars. Not at the bottom, but definitely some improvement to do, which is what we're going to look to do now. We can't get another chassis upgrade done as we already have the improved energy store cells on the go. So that's slightly annoying because chassis is really where we need to improve. So we're going to look at this rear wing upgrade instead, which will help give us a nice bit of a boost, get us right into that midfield for aerodynamics. We have quite a few resource points left as well, and with this engine one being quite cheap, we might as well do this, help us keep up with the other Ferrari powered cars, actually take us above them hopefully, and we'll also get a durability improvement done, so hopefully we won't have to have an issue like we did, or we're going to have an issue with any parts that we have to replace going forward, as we're going to have quite a bit of engine wear early on in this career. We don't have any money to upgrade any facilities, as we're a bit low on cash at the moment. We don't really have any sponsors, just the main one, which we're gonna have a new one soon by the looks of this, with the acclaim that we've been getting. We're going to skip the hot lap again. We don't need to do this again. Yeah, we're short on cash, but I don't think it's worth our time, and we're just going to quickly go in and get this new sponsor. So we want a nice balance of the weekly income, but with a weekly goal that will be achievable for us. Obviously there's no point having that goal with that goal bonus and just missing out on it every week. So it's just getting a nice mix, really. We did have a quick look at the Equinox for 1 point, but I don't think we can consistently get points. So we're going to look at this one, achieve a top 14 finish during the race, which I think is obviously more achievable. Those 4 extra places, that means that we can just miss out on points and still get that goal, which I think we should be able to do on a reasonably consistent basis, especially if Jeddah's anything to go by. Obviously had a lot of pace around there, and we definitely would have achieved it with that. And hopefully here around Australia we'll have the same, obviously with the new layout of the circuit, which we'll be trying for the first time, a lot more based on speed with that really long section in sector 2. So hopefully we'll be able to get that goal done on the first try round here. It'll be a new challenge for us around Australia. We've not driven around the new layout before. It's not a huge amount of difference. It's not a completely new track. A lot of it's still the same. A lot of it made probably a bit easier with the widening of turns, like in turn 1 and 2, and especially as you go into sector 3 on those final corners, they're a lot wider. So it means we can carry more speed and less chance of running wide. As we come through this new section for the first time, this is where we'll be a lot better than most other teams, where we have that power unit advantage. Obviously the other Ferrari power cars are slightly better than us, so we might not have that much of an advantage there. So we come in behind Stroll, get a bit of slipstream to try and help with our first lap round, as he's only just coming out, and you see this nice wider section of the track there, so we can get a much better exit than we're used to going around this circuit. And into the final 2, can we get a good time on this first lap? Set a nice baseline to work on, as we missed out on a good qualifying last time around at Jeddah. We approach the line. What's it going to be? It's a 121.4, so that's going to drop us down to 14th, you can see on our second lap here. So we have to go out for another one to improve. We're about half a second faster, so that should help massively as we go across the line into 9th with 1.5 minutes left to go. And we're going to go out for a final one. We set up ready for 2 laps just in case a mistake was made, but you can see we're going to just get in before the timer goes, and hopefully we're a bit more improvement. We dropped back down to 15th from where we were. We are improving just under 3, down to 2.5, 0.25 of a second. That's how close it is. We managed to get ourselves up into 12th, so safely through into Q2. But you can see the track evolution is going to be crucial here, as we really dropped down after that second lap, even though it was so much faster. We managed to get up into 7th for that second lap or that first lap in Q2, and we time it really well for that final lap, but as we come round, it's not going to be good enough to improve. But we might still sneak through, and it looks like we have. That might have been 9th place. It's 9th place for us. Obviously, that power unit advantage is coming helpful here. Only the one lap going into Q3. It's our one shot of getting anywhere higher up the grid, and it's not going to be the case. It's only a 120. It's a lot slower in Q3. A couple of minor mistakes around the lap, which you didn't see. It will start on 20th. Oh, not 20th? Not 10th.
As they line the track here in Albert Park. Welcome to Melbourne, and the roar from the crowd can only mean one thing. It's race day. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. It's a combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners, making it a very tricky track when it comes to overtaking. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Leclerc, George Russell and Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Bottas, the owner driver, Ocon, Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda and Ricciardo, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Guan Yu Zhou and Oscar Piastri, Albon, Vettel, Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1. A bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So in 10th place on the grid, we're heading to 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go for the Australian Grand Prix. It's a half decent start next to Bottas up there, but he gets across in front of us on the inside as Tsunoda comes around the outside. We're going to drop a few blades. Oh, contact on the inside. Gasly goes for a huge dive down the inside into turn 1. We drop back down into 12th. Tsunoda also was inhibited by that by his teammate. He had to drop back as well. We got a bit of a gap to Bottas in front, but that's quickly closed down at the end of the straight. So it's not a great start on the end for us after a half decent getaway. Gasly has really ruined that for us by going for a gap that just didn't exist up the inside of turn 1. We see this train now starting to fan out. You might have noticed during that grid that the 2 leaders of this championship, Leclerc and Sainz, joint on 38 points, had a poor qualifying for them as neither of them ended up on the first row of the grid. It was Verstappen and Hamilton, but the 2 Ferraris seem to be out in front now. They made a great start to get themselves back out in front. They've recovered from that qualifying. They've managed to get past one. Oh no, they haven't. Verstappen and Hamilton are so quick, you just couldn't see them off the start. We make a move on the inside of Tsunoda around the end of lap 1 to get into 11th. I thought that was the front of the race train there with the 2 Ferraris, but it's not. Verstappen and Hamilton have just got, and Perez have got so far ahead off that start that you can't see them, as Verstappen's already through the first corner complex, just away from this train, as we are going to look to try and close this gap on Bottas, try and get back up to 10th as quickly as possible. You can see on the timing board on the left hand side that Verstappen is almost 3 seconds ahead of his teammate already, just halfway through the second lap. And then Hamilton is 1.3 seconds ahead of Leclerc as we move up. As we move down the grid, that these front 3 have just got a huge advantage ahead, and that could be huge for the championship as Verstappen just is so far ahead and is getting even quicker that the Ferraris just might not have a chance here at a circuit that maybe would have expected them to do well on. As we go side by side with Bottas into the little chicane section, but we can't get past. No DRS yet, so we're not going to have the advantage down the straight, but we're going to look again for the inside into the right-hander, and it's a lovely move from us. We go down the inside into 10th place, back into the points, back where we started this race off. So 2 overtakes early on after losing those 2 places off the start. Back where we need to be, and hopefully this is a good sign of things to come later in this race, that we're able to show some pace against the other cars and make some overtakes. We've got a bit of a 1.5 second gap to Ocon now that we've got to try and make up, as he's just inside DRS range of his teammate. But as we move further into it, you can see we've closed this gap down a bit, down to 0.8 seconds, so we're in DRS range, and he's lost DRS to his teammate, so we're starting to get an advantage over Ocon now, and hopefully we'll be able to make this advantage work for us and get ourselves up into 9th place. 3 DRS sections around this circuit, so plenty of time to use that and get that advantage and pull him in, but it's not a huge amount per lap. We're getting only a 10th in that lap, so we're still stuck behind Ocon as we start lap 7, and it's going to be a lot of work for us to try and get this place. So it may not be that those opening laps where we're able to get past those cars are really going to show what we can do around this circuit. As Bottas, as we see, Bottas is out of the race. His engine's gone down into turn 3 after the long straight, and he's going to pull up onto the side of the track, and he will be out of this race, which helps us slightly to create an even bigger gap behind us. Tsunoda 3.5 seconds behind, so we don't have to worry at all about that behind. And we see Verstappen now coming out of the pits on our right hand side, as we have to go wide to try and avoid him, as he's trying to get around that corner ahead of us to not have to worry about overtaking us on worse tyres. We managed to sneak through and keep ourselves together, as we're now up into 9th, but Verstappen will obviously get back past, or he doesn't even need the pit stop, down the straight. Look at the pace that Verstappen has, even on those cold, hard tyres that he's just come out on. He's going to go flying past us down the straight. The Red Bull is so quick around here that we just didn't stand a chance at all. And annoyingly, running into Verstappen off that, or not running into him, but getting close to him on that exit, has really hampered us against Ocon, as we see Magnussen is now out of the race as well, going into turn 1. That's a second retirement in this race, as Magnussen's going to pull up on the side of the track. It's not a good day here at Australia with 2 cars going out, as we now enter the pits at the end of lap 13. Can we get a decent stop? We're a bit untidy on that exit there as we slow down to get into the pits. Hopefully it won't be too slow. Obviously we know our pit crew aren't the quickest, but hopefully we'll give them a chance of getting something decent. We're a little slow to get the wheels off in the first place. Oh, and that front right took ages to get on. That's a poor stop from us. That's going to be so crucial. You can see how close behind Ricciardo is now as we leave the pits. There's a nice gap between us as we came in. Oh, and Latifi's come around the outside and crashed into us on the exit, or into the entrance of turn 1, and put us onto the grass. What is Latifi doing? It's almost what we had with Verstappen, but Latifi actually makes contact with us, and we drop all the way behind Gasly, as we're going to have a look here at the battle for, as Verstappen, he's going to make his way forward, as this is all going on at the same time as we come out of the pits. As you see Verstappen making the move up into second place. He's just so much quicker than everyone else in this race. It's unbelievable how quick that Red Bull is. How is anyone ever going to compete with him? It's ridiculous. It's great for him for the championship though, and keeps the championship alive, as he lost some points to the Ferraris recently that he's definitely going to get those points back and probably go back ahead of them, as we rejoin our action here on lap 15 into lap 16, down in 13th place. We're going to have to make some overtakes to get back to where we were because of that incident with Latifi at the pit exit. We right behind Gasly now along this straight. We have so much more power than the AlphaTauri that this straight is so useful for us, or the 3 straights really around here are so useful for us. As we open the DRS, we're even already alongside the back of his car before DRS opens up the inside. An easy enough move for us to make, very tight on the corner, but we've made the move so we can drift onto the outside of the corner, and up into 12th place we are. But you can see on that timing board we're 5 seconds behind Ricciardo now. He was right behind us as we came out of the pits, but that incident has just caused us to drop so far behind that we're going to have a lot of work to do to make up. It looks like he's in a nice battle with Tsunoda, so hopefully we can have sort of similar to what happened to us in Jeddah, where the two cars in front are battling side by side and it slows them down, and we're able to make that gap up as Gasly looks to mount an attack around the outside using DRS, but we cover the inside well and there's no way through for him as we manage to keep 12th place. We also need to try and bridge a gap to Gasly. We don't want to have to be looking in our mirror the entire time. That's also going to stop us being able to catch up to Ricciardo in front. We get a good speed out of this first sector. We managed to extend some of that gap, and hopefully with the fact that we have that extra power, Gasly won't be able to make too much of a gap, or make too much of that gap back in the slipstream down the straight. He will have DRS into this next section. So we run while onto the grass. We managed to keep the car under control, keep it straight most importantly, so we don't go sliding. That's not going to be great, but Gasly isn't close enough to make a move, and we'll live to fight another day. As we see here, Ricciardo and Tsunoda battling around the last part of this lap, and this is what we want. We want them battling side by side, putting each other under pressure and causing each other to slow down, and hopefully that will drag them back to us and we can have a nice fight, and taking both of them will put us back into 10th place, into the points. That's what we need, that's what we want from this race, just a point. Obviously we're running currently in 12th, so we'll get our goal from our new sponsorship deal, which is what we want. You see us come into the background of the shot here as Tsunoda and Ricciardo go into turn 1 and 2, and hopefully this battle will keep going for long enough that we are able to do something here. As you can see later on into this race, they're side by side into turn 1. It's Ricciardo looking for a switchback, but he can't get through, and we've closed it down to under a second on these two cars. We don't quite get DRS yet, as we only got it within a second in the corner, but the battle has worked out for us again. Just like in Jeddah, two other cars battling has got us back into the race for the chance of points. It's almost identical to what happened, just with different cars. Instead of Ocon and Tsunoda, it's now it's Ricciardo and Tsunoda this time round, as we're right on the back now. We've got to be careful when we make this move though, because obviously Ricciardo could end up being slow through certain corners with having to just tuck in behind Tsunoda. That we don't want to end up causing ourselves damage. We need to time this really well to sneak our way through. But obviously we don't have too long left in this race, only 6 laps to go, that we have to make the move at some point. We don't just want to be sat behind these two for the rest of this race and miss out on points. We've also managed to get that gap to Gasly, but now that we're in this train stuck behind, he's going to be able to close back down, as we just missed the back of Ricciardo. We're slightly late on the brakes into the corner, but we managed to avoid any contact and keep going. But as you can see, Gasly almost at that under that 1 second mark to get DRS on us and join this fight. So we don't want to be stuck behind here for too long. We need to try and make this move as quickly as possible so we don't get stuck behind and we can just move on past. 10th will be the best place for us. Ocon is too far ahead, so we've just got to make these two moves and just get beyond there, and then we should be safe. We can't make a move up the inside of the left-hander into the DRS, but Ricciardo also has it. So we're both going to try and see if we can get on Tsunoda here. We look to the inside, see if there's any way of going. Just a little bit of room. We can't get through. We have to back out of the corner again. So we've been stuck behind for this entire lap. We need to try and make a move somewhere, but obviously we don't want to risk anything at all. We don't want to just put ourselves out of the race. We have a chance for points here. We don't want to waste that at all. DRS open again, but we've fallen behind for the last few corners, so we can't look to make a move there. Ricciardo looks to go on the outside into sector 3, and both of them are slow through the corner. We have to back out again as Ricciardo gets his way through into 10th. Tsunoda tucked in 11th, and we are still behind in 12th. It looked like it could be an opportunity, but there was no chance. We were drifting too wide on the exit of the corner. You can't really stay tight on that corner, so we couldn't look to move to make some sort of switchback from outside to inside and take both of them. So we have to settle down. Oh, we're late on the brakes into turn 1, almost in the back of Tsunoda, and run slightly wide onto the grass. So we still have DRS, but we've dropped quite a bit behind now. We have to make that time up again. That's not what we needed. Only 4 laps to go in this race. We really need to try and make this move. Take a little bit of corner right hand side of the second part of the chicane. Us and Tsunoda both have that rear wing open. Tsunoda looks to go to the inside. We go to the outside. Little bit on the grass. right round the outside of Tsunoda, and what a move that is. We managed to make it stick despite going on the grass on the entrance to that corner. We managed to get through into 11th. That's what we need. One place up. Now we just worry about Ricciardo in front, as we can deal with Tsunoda from behind. As long as we're quick enough, challenging Ricciardo should be fine. We're right on the back of Ricciardo into the DRS section. Again on the grass, this time on the inside. We managed to get up the inside of Ricciardo, get the car stopped, and we get through into 10th place. You see, we still have a pace advantage, even with a bit of wear, as you can see on the right hand side. We're starting to get early signs of engine wear, which thank God we're getting that durability upgrade going. But we're up into 10th with the final lap to go. Perfect timing from us to get this move done. We waited just long enough to make sure we weren't making too much of a risk, but in enough time that we can get the move done and hopefully secure the point. Half a second to Ricciardo behind us, who have DRS, but he can't make a move down into the corner from the straight. We're slightly wide, a bit untidy. The tyres may be starting to go a bit at the end of this race. Can we hold on for the final part? We're going to have 2 long straight sections to try and defend from for under half a second gap, as we see Verstappen rounding the final corner. He will win the Australian Grand Prix. Perez will come home in second and Leclerc in third. The Mercedes of Hamilton, who started so well on the grid on second, has dropped back, so that'll be disappointing for them. But Verstappen keeps the title fight nice and interesting with a win here in Australia, as we look to end our final lap. Ricciardo really closing the gap, going to come alongside us on the right hand side through the chicane. We managed to block on the inside. Ricciardo's still there, can't get through, but he's going to be right on our tail in the DRS section. We're going to have to put a huge defence in here as we move to the inside of the corner, force him to go the long way around. We managed to defend through the corner. We should be able to hold on from here as long as we stay on the track. No mistakes from us. We should come home in 10th for a point. Round the second last bend, take it nice and steady, no mistakes at all, knowing that he's going to be blocked behind us. He's actually dropped off a bit. And we're going to come home in 10th place to take another championship point. Well, the race was a bit dull at the start. Latifi almost ruined the race for us, but we managed to get home in 10th. Finished where we started after dropping back, getting forward, dropping back again. What a recovery that was from us. We managed to get through, and that's huge for us to gain another point there, and crucially get that new goal bonus from that new sponsor. But the title fight is well and truly alive, as Red Bull take the fight back to Ferrari with a win here in Australia. Ferrari only managing to get one of their cars on the grid, or sorry, on the podium, with Perez taking that second spot. So the Constructors' Championship is as exciting as the Drivers' Championship, and we'll just have to see where this goes, and hopefully it stays this tight through the rest of the season and no one team gets so far ahead, because this is really exciting for this championship, as we'll see Verstappen head to the podium to get on that top step and take the top points. So next we'll head to Imola for our first sprint race of the season, our first sprint race of the games. They've never been on the games before. This is our first one to deal with and see if sprint races are our thing, if we can make the advantage of the extra race time, as we seem to have some decent race pace at the moment, so hopefully that'll help. And so be sure to like and subscribe to make sure you're able to check that out in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Let's have a look then at the driver's standings. Today's performance means that Max Verstappen now owns top spot in the Drivers' Championship. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Often, my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
Let's move on to the constructors. And